Hey guys, how's it going? We're back. I didn't think we'd be back, but we are back based on your guys' feedback. So this is Q&A round 2 because the first one went really well. We had some really good feedback. We had more questions. I asked you guys if you had more questions and more questions came in. So here we are, round 2, we're gonna do it. And we're trying to have some fun. And we're thinking, what about like Q&A? And A being, for all you Americans out there, you know, the stereotype you put under us where you're like, oh, they always say A. So what if it was Q and A, E-H? Anyways, we're gonna do some Q&A and we are going to just jump right into it.
What is one lesson you learned the hard way?
Say it or do it in the moment because you may never get a chance again. So I talk a lot about the fact that I don't dwell on the past. I don't get caught up on like bad things that have happened or anything like that. But I'd be lying if I didn't think of all the things I probably should have said to my mom and the opportunity to potentially make peace with my father. So those are things, and I've seen it over the years whenever we think about every single time some celebrity dies. Unfortunately, people die and it's just a sad reality. But what happens? A celebrity dies and everyone's like, that's it, I'm gonna live in the moment and I'm gonna like say things before I lose people, but we never do. And that would be one lesson that I learned the hard way was I'm sometimes labeled as like outspoken, but that's because I'd rather it be said because nothing in life is guaranteed and I may not have another chance to say it. So that would definitely be the lesson I learned the hard way is if you feel it, good or bad, and you think it has to be said, you have to say it because you have zero guarantee that you'll ever get that opportunity again.
How is discipline different from motivation?
I see it this way. Motivation is like, I think of like motivation as like the little bit of lighter fluid but the flame has to be like internal. And if you combine the two, what happens? You know, if you have fire and you have lighter fluid, you get a fire, right? But the lighter fluid on its own is completely useless. And I know that's contrary, trust me, I'm well aware of the fact that we're putting out motivational content. To me, motivation is like that thing that gets that like little bit of fire in your belly and you're like, oh, I'm feeling good. But that's where it ends. Discipline is that thing that makes you actually like get up and do it, right? Discipline is, I was actually DMing with somebody this morning where they were like, oh, you know, like I hit the snooze button again kind of thing. Here's an example of discipline. Discipline is when that alarm goes off, you don't want to. There's no part of you that wants to, but you just force yourself to stand up. Because you know that if you don't stand up, your old habits are gonna remain, right? Discipline is like, and that's where people get it confused, is like, I don't want to do half the things I do. That doesn't mean they don't interest me. Like we all have interests in everything else. Like you can like fitness, but like you don't wanna do the workout because at the end of the day, you're tired and everything else. Discipline is doing it in spite of how you feel. If I only worked out on the days that I felt like working out, I'd probably be like 400 pounds by now, right? Like that's the reality of the situation. But so the discipline is the act of like getting up and doing it anyways. And not to go really long-winded, but I think this is important. Half the problem is we label ourselves based on our past performance. Oh, I'm a person that never gets things done. I'm a person that always shrugs things off. I'm a person that always puts things off and I never get things done. We actually, because of the things we've done in the past and our behavior in the past, we label ourselves as that's who I am. And that's the biggest mistake. That's who you were the last time you tried something. So if you procrastinate, there's something you know you're supposed to get done and you just keep putting it off, or you start and stop and you never actually complete it. So many times you'll be like, well, I'm just somebody that, whether you say it outwardly or not, you're like, well, I'm just somebody that doesn't get something done. No, I want you to stop that mindset right now. The last time you tried something, that is how it ended. The person trying this today doesn't have that rap. Every single time you try something again, it's the first time. You decide how the new you is going to react in that moment. So I think that's the biggest thing of discipline is people are just like, well, I'm an undisciplined person. No. You've been undisciplined so far. But the next time you try, it's a clean slate and you get to decide whether or not you're a disciplined person now. Listen, you gotta want it bad enough. And I think a big thing, people romanticize about things where they're like, oh, I really wanna be in shape. Do you? You never get your ass off the couch. So like here, do this right now. Either accept the fact that you don't have it in you and you're gonna be unhealthy and you're not gonna be happy with yourself, and figure out how to make peace with that. And if that doesn't sound okay to you, then guess what? Shut up and get it done. And it's really that simple. Either accept the fact that you just don't want it bad enough, and then start to accept the fact that you need to figure out how to be comfortable with that. And you have to be able to look yourself in the mirror and be like, yeah, I guess I didn't want it bad enough. And I know what you're all thinking. You're like, well, that sucks. I don't want to do that. Exactly. That's the instinct I want. Like, listen to yourself. And I say that to kids on the DM all the time. They're like, well, I'm having a hard time getting motivation. I really want a side hustle. And I'll literally write back and I'll say, no, you don't. I'll be like, no, you don't understand. I want a side hustle. Okay, how long have you wanted a side hustle? Well, like 2 years now, I just haven't started. Well, you don't want a side hustle. What do you mean? Well, if you wanted it, you would have started it by now. So, and I'll literally ask them to do it in the DM. I'm like, so accept the fact right now that you don't have it in you for a side hustle. And I will literally have people tell me to go F myself in the DM. 9 times out of 10, they'll be like, oh, I see what you did there. So that's what I need you guys to do. Take yourself to a place that if you haven't got it done yet, that you're gonna stand in front of the mirror and say, I don't deserve this, or I'm not good enough to do this. Try to do it, and I guarantee you won't be able to do it. So that's the moment. Right in that moment, then you continue to look in that mirror and you'd be like, okay, then it changes today. And unfortunately, it's all on you. You can't watch a video and get disciplined. You can watch a video and get motivation. You have to decide that all your failures in the past are just that. They're in the past, and from that moment forward, you are a person that gets things done. You're the professional. You get it done. That's what you do. You have goals, they mean something to you, and you're not that loser that never follows through. And unfortunately, what happens with a person that has that type of character means you have to get your ass up and you gotta get it done. So if anything, what is discipline? How do you get it? It's a mindset shift. Take yourself to the point to where it's either, I'm not good enough for this, I suck, and I'm not meant to do it. You're not gonna get there. That's why you've been thinking about it. Or in that moment, you have to be like, well, then I've got to get started.
How is, This is 40 going?
So This is 40, so This is 40 is really good. It's been going really good. An update on that was, I had a curveball I didn't anticipate, and there was actually a moment where my discipline was tested. So things were going really good. I've dropped weight. I'm in noticeably different, better shape, not just outwardly, but inwardly. I've got more energy, things like that. But then I had the vasectomy. And you're not allowed, I wasn't even allowed to lift, you're not allowed to lift anything over 15 pounds. So I wasn't even allowed to lift my son, never mind work out. And leading up to about a week before the surgery, and I think we've all been here, so stick with me. Leading up to a week before the surgery, that voice started creeping in my head. Well, you're not gonna be able to work out for a week or two anyways, so what does it matter if you skip a day? That started to get there because it's very real. Our brains are always looking to keep us comfortable. So those thoughts are gonna creep into your head. So that's where the discipline came in, where I was like, no, I got goals. It's one day of making progress is better than one day of taking a step back, right? So that started to creep in. And then when the vasectomy happened, obviously, I was in that 1 week's break, it creeps back again. It was, well, wait a minute, the form did say, because obviously you get a week off, your diet slips a little bit because you're just trying, you're eating because you're in pain and you're recovering, everything else, and you're not right to the letter. But then human nature creeps back in, where you're like, well, and not only that, because you're in pain, you're nervous, am I going back early, everything else, and again, our instinct is to be lazy. Your brain starts going, well, the form did say 1 to 2 weeks of no activity. And that started to creep in day 5 or 6, knowing that, day 7 could be go time again. And that was that moment again where I had to call myself out in the moment and say, no. You're good to go on day 7. If you want this, you're gonna get it done. So we started doing it again. Then I got really sick. I got sick for 3-4 days. I went and got a COVID test because I was concerned that I may have had the coronavirus. Everything's all clear, it's negative. But that was another moment where it was like, well, should I take that extra day's rest? But I knew deep down, I really wasn't concerned about the rest. I was trying to get comfortable again, right? So to answer the question about how This is 40, now we're back in full swing. Water's a priority, and it's really, really simple, guys. I'm not trying to be a fitness model. It's like, try to drink 4 liters of water a day. make sure I'm only putting healthy food into my body, avoiding sugars, everything else like that, and getting the work in every single day. That's it. Like, I'm not looking to compete, or like, those days are behind me. What's really, really cool is some of you are reaching out and saying, wow, I almost didn't do the workout today, but then I saw that you got in there at 8:30 at night after a 16-hour day, and I was kind of like, wow, if he's doing it, what's my excuse? That is part of the reason I'm doing this. Like, I'm doing it for me, and me sharing the content is holding me accountable, but I love the fact that it's like, oh wow, I almost didn't get it done, and then I saw that you were doing it, and I was like, man, what's my excuse? So we're in this together, and that's what I like about the whole This Is 40 thing. It's like, I want to hear your guys' stories, and not only that, like, I want you guys to ask if I'm working out and stuff like that. Like, let's hold each other accountable.
Last question, someone asked about your hat.
The hat. Yeah, the hat. So the guy that provided the hat is the guy that asked about the hat. So, but I have actually got messages about it before. So that hat, a lot of people have inquired. It's actually a shot of a lake back in Manitoba. It's called Clear Lake. And it is actually, Ryan, actually we'll link it up. So it's like Shields Real Estate Group. I think that's your handle. Sorry, buddy, if I got that wrong. We can link it up. He was a fantastic referral partner back in Brandon. Him and I sent all our business back and forth to each other. Good dude, almost looks like my clone. But that was his logo. And truth be told, Brendan's seen my closet. I have a dozen hats. I wear it because it kind of ties me back to my roots, right? It's that little, like, I know nobody else knows what it is locally, but it's my little tie back to Brandon, because obviously, you know, you get homesick and you miss everyone. So yeah, good question. It is the Shields Real Estate Group logo, and it reminds me of home, which is why I wear it. And it's actually a really comfy hat. Which, by the way, Ryan, if you got one, send me another one.